All right, let's jump right in. The book of Revelation, it's packed with these powerful, sometimes really puzzling images. Today, we're going to be cosmic detectives unpacking one of the most compelling scenes, this cry for justice that comes from beyond the grave. And to solve it, we're following the trail of clues from one very specific theological interpretation. It all kicks off with this really haunting image. You have the souls of martyrs, and they're crying out from under an altar. That one phrase, under the altar, that's our first major clue, and it's what starts this whole investigation. It's a cry that's echoing through the heavens, but the origin, well, that's the mystery. Where exactly is this altar? So, here's our game plan for cracking this case. We're going to look at the cry itself, then investigate two very important altars, find a massive clue way back in the book of Genesis, and then connect all the dots to figure out what and where this altar really is. And finally, we'll see why it all matters for the bigger story. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about this cry. We have to understand this isn't some quiet prayer. The original language here implies a loud shout, a scream, really a demand for justice. So the big question is, where is this scream even coming from? And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is this a physical altar sitting somewhere in heaven? Or is it something symbolic? To figure that out, we've got to look at the evidence. And our first piece of evidence is basically the blueprint of the heavenly temple itself. Now, here's where things get really interesting. You see, the ancient tabernacle, which is seen as a kind of model for the heavenly temple, it didn't just have one altar, it had two. And understanding the massive difference between them is the first huge break in our case. So check this out. On the left, you've got the brazen altar. It's located out in the courtyard, and it's for animal sacrifice. Then on the right, you have the golden altar. This one's way inside, in the holy place, right near the presence of God. Its whole purpose is for burning incense, which is a symbol for prayer. But here's the key connection. The fire used at the golden altar for prayer had to come from the brazen altar of sacrifice. So you have these two totally different zones, one outside for judgment and sacrifice, and one inside for prayer and communion, right before God. So let's zero in on that brazen altar for a second. In the interpretation we're exploring, its location in the outer courtyard is everything. It's seen as a symbol for a place of holding, of containment. It's where things are processed before they can enter God's direct presence. So hang on to that idea, containment. It's going to be important. All right, so for our next clue, we're going to do something a little unexpected. We're not standing in Revelation. Nope, we're jumping all the way back to the very beginning, to Genesis, because this interpretation says the story of the very first martyr, Abel, holds the key to the whole thing. Just listen to the language here. Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Doesn't that sound incredibly similar to what we just read in Revelation? A cry for justice? Rising up? This parallel is not a coincidence. It is the clue that cracks this whole mystery wide open. And here it is. This is the crucial link, the linchpin of the entire argument. This interpretation makes the case that in the Bible, blood and soul are basically interchangeable. So if Abel's blood was crying out, that really means his soul was crying out. And just like that, the story of Abel is directly connected to the souls of the martyrs in Revelation. Okay, so now we have all our clues laid out on the table. We've got the martyrs' souls crying from under an altar. We've got Abel's soul crying from the earth. It's time to put these two pieces together. And here's the logic, laid out plain and simple. Let's walk through it. Number one, the martyrs' souls cry from under the altar. We know that. Number two, Abel's soul cries from the earth. We just saw that. So, number three, the absolutely stunning conclusion is that the altar isn't some piece of furniture in heaven. It's a symbol for the earth, for our world. But wait, it goes one layer deeper. This interpretation argues that our earth exists inside a larger spiritual realm called Hades, which is basically a holding place before final judgment. Now remember that brazen altar we talked about? The one that symbolized judgment and containment in the outer court? Well, there's the connection. That altar is a symbol for Hades. So the earth, where all that martyr's blood was shed, is seen as being contained within this realm, just waiting for judgment. And there it is, the solution to our mystery. According to this view, the martyrs aren't actually in heaven yet. Their souls are here, in the realm of the earth, which is contained within Hades. This entire realm, Earth and Hades together, acts as that symbolic brazen altar, that place of waiting, that place of containment, from which their cries for justice are rising up. So we solved the where. Awesome. But that just leads to the next big question. Why? Why are they waiting there? What does all this mean for the grand cosmic story that's unfolding? If you go back to that original passage in Revelation, after they cry out, the martyrs are given white robes and told to wait. Well, in this view, those robes are way more than just clothes. Think of them like a guaranteed ticket, a promise of salvation. They're a promise that these souls will take part in a very exclusive event called the First Resurrection, which is their entry pass into the New Jerusalem. That's what they're waiting for. And the emphasis is definitely on first. This isn't the general resurrection that happens for everybody. No, according to this view, this is a special, incredible honor reserved just for these martyrs as a reward for their ultimate faithfulness. They're waiting in Hades specifically for this event. So this timeline basically lays out the final act of the play. Right now, their souls are crying out from the earth. They keep crying until the full number of martyrs is finally reached. Their faithfulness, even to the point of death, becomes the ultimate proof that God's way is the right way. And once that proof is complete, then, and only then, can the final judgment they've been calling for happen. Their blood can be avenged, and their long-awaited first resurrection can finally take place. Because, you see, at the end of the day, the ultimate point of this whole cosmic drama isn't just about revenge. It's about restoration. The judgment that they're calling for is the final step needed to completely cleanse creation, to get rid of sin and death forever, so that the world can finally be made whole, new, and perfect. So this interpretation really brings this ancient cosmic story right back down to us. That cry from the martyrs, it's not happening in some far-off distant heaven. It's rising from the very ground beneath our feet. The earth itself is holding these stories, echoing this ancient call for justice. Which, of course, leaves us with one last, really challenging thought. If that cry is still echoing today, what's our role in answering it?